Hey everyone, my name is Drew and welcome to Novelytic. Today we are going to be doing a book haul. So I will be separating this video into 3 different parts. For those of you that are unfamiliar, a book haul is just when I talk about the books that I have obtained in a certain period of time. First, I'll be doing books that I either got through giveaways or subscription boxes, books that I bought new, or books that I purchased used. So first, for my book of the month pick, I chose Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. So I actually read this one, I really liked it. So you'll be seeing this in my wrap up. But basically, it is a contemporary romance about a woman who, she just finished her PhD in astronomy, and you know, she ends up going to Vegas on a trip with her friends and accidentally becomes married to a stranger. It's a journey of finding herself after finally finishing her studies, as well as trying to make this marriage work. Fantastic book, but this isn't that kind of video. So yes, Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. And my most recent book of the month pick was The Lost Apothecary, a novel by Sarah Penner. So this one, first off, it's pretty. Honey Girl was very pretty too. This one I'm not as familiar about. I think I might have seen the cover like pictured on like Goodreads or something, but I didn't know what this is about. So right here, a forgotten history, a secret network of women, a legacy of poison and revenge. Welcome to the Lost Apothecary. Hidden in the depths of 18th century London, a secret apothecary shop caters to an unusual kind of clientele. Women across the city whisper of a mysterious figure named Nella, who sells well-disguised poisons to use against the oppressive men in their lives. That sounds awesome. Can't wait to read that. I'm probably going to say that about every book on here. Otherwise I wouldn't have followed them. The next one I got in my February Fairyloot box. If you're someone who does not want to be spoiled for your boxes, I'll leave the timestamp where this begins as well as where it ends below. But for February, I received Lore by Alexandra Bracken. So first off, let's just pause. The cover is pretty. The sprayed edges with the stenciling is pretty. You undress it. End pages. Cover. The back. And the inside of the dust jacket. Pretty. But regardless, I actually started reading this a couple days ago, so I have my little bookmark in there to match it. But this is basically a reimagining of Greek mythology. So basically, in modern day New York, a murderous game is about to begin. The Aegon. Every 7 years, for 1 week only, Zeus punishes the gods by forcing them to walk the earth as mortals, which people can kill them and take their powers. I think that's all you need to know. But yeah, I'm excited to read this one. For the March pick for Fairyloot, I received This Golden Flame by Emily Victoria. Again, let's admire its beauty. Look at that. This actually, so absolutely stunning. But this book was not on my radar at all until I received this in the box, and I am intrigued. It seems to be some sort of like mix between sci-fi and fantasy, mostly sci-fi. So in this, fantasy fans won't want to miss this one. Okay, I am a fantasy fan, so let's go. Orphaned and forced to serve her country's ruling group of scribes, Caris, I hope that's how you say that. Caris wants nothing more than to find her brother, long ago shipped away, but family bonds don't matter to the scriptorium, whose sole focus is unlocking the magic of an ancient automaton army. In search for her brother, Caris does the seemingly impossible. She awakens a hidden automaton. Intelligent, with a conscience of his own, Alex has no idea why he was made, or why his father, their nation's greatest traitor, once tried to destroy the automatons. Interesting. The blurb doesn't really give much, but I'm definitely willing to give it a try. And once again, I love the sprayed edits. Maroon is one of my faves. So the final book I won in a Goodreads giveaway, and that is Aristophanes for Plays, Clouds, Birds, Lysistrata and Women of the Assembly. I love my classics. I think I might have mentioned that a while back. But I saw this was on there. I figured why not, and I got it. Kind of creepy though, but I am very curious because I've never read Aristophanes, so it'll definitely be a new experience. Now on to some new books that I purchased. Oh, I didn't know that had sprayed edges in there. So the first book is a collection of poems and is I Am the Rage by Dr. Martina McGowan. I don't even remember where I initially saw this, but upon reading the back, I knew I needed to read this collection of poetry. I am the rage. I am the rage roiling just beneath the surface. I am the dream deferred. Again. I am the promises needed and repeated but never kept. I am the air between light and dark, fueling flames that burn but can neither be consumed nor satisfied in its own abiding hunger. I am the glowing embers you continue to poke and prod with meanness that bubbles over into the streets. I am the ravenous appetite to destroy something, anything. It gives me chills, and I cannot wait to read the entirety of the collection. The next two books I got are the Wordcloud Editions, and those include Hans Christian Andersen Tales and Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. So just take a look to it. I just admire these word clouds. I've never owned any of these, but they're both so, I think it's super cool, and they have their little like excerpts on the back as well. So for these, I actually never read Peter Pan as a kid. They're both children's classics, but I never read Peter Pan. I mean, I saw the Disney movie, which I'm curious to see. Does this still have some of those questionable things in there? And then Hans Christian Andersen, I read The Snow Queen and Other Tales, but I really wanted to dive into more of the tales that he has written. So yeah, I cannot wait to get to both of these, and they're pretty. The next book I got, so the Barnes & Noble by me is currently closing, unfortunately. It is currently having a really, really good sale, so my partner and I went. We wanted to look at some books, see if there's anything good, and I did get the next three books, and the first one is Frankenstein in this stunning edition. I love the lightning, the castle's cool, the back, it's just, and sprayed edges, and it has a little bookmark in it too. But I was supposed to read Frankenstein in high school, and I don't think I did, because I don't remember, like, the writing, and I don't remember any of the activities we did. So yeah, I figured why not now? So the next book I got is Worlds of Wonders in Praise of Fireflies, Whale Sharks, and Other Astonishments by Amy Nezuko-Matato. So I recently read Oceanic by Amy Nezuko-Matato, which I adored. I went in with the intent of getting another poetry collection. However, because, you know, again, it's going out of business, there wasn't that many selections, but this was Barnes & Noble's best book of the year, and they had a whole table dedicated to it. So I was like, you know what, I can't find the poetry, I'm gonna get her newest release. So I believe this is part memoir. The blurb on the back reads, Amy Nezuko-Matato has called many places home. The grounds of a Kansas mental institution, where her Filipino mother was a doctor, the open skies and tall mountains of Arizona, where she hiked with her Indian father, and the chillier climate of Western New York, where she built a family of her own. But no matter where she was transplanted, no matter how awkward the fit or forbidding the landscape, she was able to turn to our world's fierce and funny creatures, the peacock and the axolotl. I never say that right, but they're such cute animals. The narwhal and the red-spotted newt, the lovely and the unlovely alike, for guidance. In World of Wonders, Nezuko-Matato shares their lessons in gorgeously illustrated essays full of sustenance and joy. I can't wait to read this, and even, like, there's cute little illustrations throughout, like, oh, hold on. Look at the little froggies. So, I can't wait to get to this one. I loved the poetry, and I think this will probably be just as good, if not better. And the final book I got, which I found walking out, it was one of the last copies, is Stamped from the Beginning by Ibram X. Kendi. It's the definitive history of racist ideas in America. So actually about a year ago, I read Stamped, the remix version from Jason Reynolds, not realizing that this was what it was based off, which, by the way, big book. almost 600 pages. And I absolutely loved that. It was written so well, it communicated its ideas well, and I was really intrigued to read what it was based off of. But I think this is an important read. I think it's an imperative read. A lot of history is whitewashed, and a lot of history is kind of brushed under the rug. And generally that happens with history because usually people in power like to tell their own histories. So I think this is super important to read, and I cannot wait to get into it. It's definitely going to be very impactful. But yeah, here's all these lovely reads that I am so excited to get to. Alright, so next are my used books. I actually really love going to used book sales, but with the pandemic that's not really possible. But another way that I've been getting my used book is through thrift books, which I've been using since my undergraduate. That's where I would get my books for those classes, and I still use it today. I love it. And you can often search through and find like all different editions. You can find collectibles. It's great. I love it. So my first book is Jane on the Brain, Exploring the Science of Social Intelligence with Jane Austen. So I love me some Jane Austen. I enjoy reading it. I don't think you can really see all of them, but I have my lovely Jane Austen collection here. I have some over there. I have some upstairs. I have some in my book cart. Love Jane Austen. So this is a revelatory investigation of Jane Austen's intuitive ability to imbue her beloved characters with hallmarks of social intelligence. I thoroughly enjoy reading Jane Austen. One of my favorite books of all time is Pride and Prejudice, and I wonder if that is because of, just the wit of Elizabeth Bennet. I don't really care for romance generally, but there's something about the way Jane Austen does it, and I'm curious to see how it is unpacked in here. Along similar lines, I found this book. It was sort of in one of those, oh, because you looked at this book, maybe you'll like this, and that is Shakespeare's Tremors and Orwell's Coughs, Diagnosing the Medical Groans and the Last Gasps of 10 Great Writers by John J. Ross, MD. I mean, who doesn't want to read about why some of their favorite authors died? Yeah. So the Bard meets House MD in this fascinating untold story of the impact of disease on the lives and works of some of the finest writers in the English language. John Ross cheerfully debunks old biographical myths and suggests fresh diagnoses for these writers' real-life medical mysteries. Something totally different, sounds intriguing? I'm here for it. The next book I got, it's a little creepy looking, but is The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. So first off, I literally bought this because I thought the cover was so creepy. I adored the musical, and I never read the book, so I figured, why not? It was like $3. And in case you aren't aware of what Phantom of the Opera is about, it's about this deformed man who he's sort of like rejected from society, who lives in an opera house. It's basically about how he takes this interest in this young woman who is starting to become a rising star. He trained her vocally and whatnot. He kind of groomed her for it, but it's also about like the romance as well, or the difficulties of romance. So yeah, I'm excited to read the book. I'm curious if there's any differences. What's also cool is that in this copy we have a cool like poster for the musical, which I like it. And actually, it says wild, weird, and wonderful. So, yeah. The next book is Why I Read: The Serious Pleasure of Books by Wendy Lesser. Sorry for the glare. It is an ex-library copy, but I found this. I was reading an article and was talking about just why we read, and if you couldn't tell, I like to read. But in this, it's part memoir, I believe. So it says, Lesser draws on a lifetime of pleasure of reading and decades of editing, one of the most distinguished literary magazines. She writes in her prologue, reading can result in boredom or transcendence, rage or enthusiasm, depression or hilarity, empathy or contempt, depending on who you are and what the book is and how your life is shaping up at the moment you encounter it. I relate. And I'm curious to see what she has to say in this memoir. The next book I got was Beginning Theory: An Introduction to Literary and Cultural Theory So I find literature fascinating. I love reading about like the constructs of literature. So I figured I'd give this a go. I think actually I saw this on Ashley at a Frolic Through Fictions channel. Like this was one of her university reads. So I figured I'd pick it up. This is the 3rd edition. I think there might be a 4th one out, but figured I'd give this a go. And the last 2 books that I'm so excited to read, like I am totally a sucker for things that are in collections, but a very short introduction. I got one for literary theory to go along with the other book, as well as myth. So first, for the literary theory, this one is by Jonathan Kohler. So I, again, want to learn more about literary theory. I'm just curious. And I figured before I dive into that book, I should read the very short introduction. Plus, it's pretty. Lastly, I have Myth by Robert A. Siegel, or Sagel, not really sure. But again, I am intrigued by myth. I love reading myths. I love reading retellings of myths. And I actually want to do this project where I read myths from around the world and create my own sort of like database for the originals, different translations, as well as the more modern retellings of it as well. Find it fascinating. But again, I want to read my very short introduction as well. Again, it might be stuff I already know, but figured I'd give it a go. I think it would look great on my shelves, and once again, I loved the illustrations of the cover. Alright, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. If you're still here, please remember to give this a thumbs up, as well as subscribe, and until next time.